This woman here, she wanted to be a trad wife, being the submissive woman, cooking, cleaning, all of that. And she thought at 36 that she had found her perfect man, that she was going to finally be able to live out her dream. But her husband had other plans. Now she is an OF model and she's actually a millionaire now because he up and skedaddled. Let's look at her story. I'm not starting at the very beginning of the article. I'm starting here and then I'll go back up. But this quote just stuck out to me. It just stuck out to me as something that's sad that all she aspired to be was a trad wife. The quote says, "This is what I've been waiting for my whole entire life." Growing up, St. James says she first dreamed of becoming an actress or a singer, like her childhood heroes, Cher, Dolly Parton, or Carol Burnett. But the conservative culture around her influenced her views, she says, so instead she put her sights on marriage and family, pushing any career aspirations to the wayside. This part is sad to me. I was always told early on that a woman has a shelf life as far as being attractive, and that was around 40, and then you become invisible, St. James says. You have one value, and it's your looks. That is a terrible message, and I really wish that we would stop pushing that on girls and women. That's the reason why so many women start freaking out when they turn 30. That precise messaging. All right, so that is where I wanted to start. Now I'm about to go up to the top of the article. So this is from USA Today. It says her dream of becoming a trad wife fell apart. Now she's an OF millionaire. It says at 36, Eleanor St. James says she thought all her dreams were about to come true. The husband, the children, the white picket fence she longed for since childhood, they were within reach, or so she thought. After 4 years, she says, the man she once considered her happily ever after dumped her via email, and her views changed drastically. Now, St. James lives a life far from what she dreamed about. At 58, she's an adult content creator on OF, a subscription-based website where she says she's made over $1.5 million since joining April 2021. Before then, St. James says she aspired for the lifestyle touted by today's self-proclaimed trad wives, short for traditional wife. She pictured herself as a homemaker, subservient to her husband. If the trend had been around back then, she thinks she perhaps would have been a trad wife influencer. So here she is at 58 doing OF. St. James knows her journey from a trad wife in training, as she calls it, to OF model is an unusual one. After all, most women neither identify as trad wives nor work in adult content. Two camps that seem to be at odds when it comes to how women should express sexuality and seek fulfillment. Still, St. James believes people can learn from her story. The way she sees it, her life offers both a warning to those who think they can have it all figured out. St. James knows her journey from a trad wife in training, as she calls it, to OF model is an unusual one. After all, most women neither identify as trad wives nor work in adult content, two camps that seem to be at odds when it comes to how women should express sexuality and seek fulfillment. Still, St. James believes people can learn from her story. The way she sees it, her life offers both a warning to those who think they have it all figured out and hope to those who think it's too late to make a change. It also highlights the pressure women face amid a surge of conflicting labels and worldviews. Women need to understand that nothing is permanent, and that's good and bad, she says. As long as you're alive, you can reinvent. And that's to men too. You can at some point decide your happiness is more important than somebody else's, especially if that somebody else doesn't treat you with love and respect. And this is the part that I did at first. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life. Growing up, St. James says she first dreamed of becoming an actress or singer like her childhood heroes, Cher, Dolly Parton, or Carol Burnett. And I don't need to do this whole thing. I'll just skip back down to the bottom. I was always told early on that a woman has a shelf life as far as being attractive, and that was around 40, and then you become invisible. You have one value, and it's your looks. St. James worked various jobs while waiting patiently for Prince Charming. Eventually, she says he arrived via Match.com. The man, a handsome lawyer, she says, wanted a wife. Check. He also wanted kids. Check. In short, he was everything St. James thought she wanted. It was like, this is the lottery. I've won the lottery, St. James said. This is what I've been waiting for my whole entire life. This is worth the wait. This is the person. I was living with him. I was taking care of everything a traditional wife would take care of. I was building a home for us and for our future children. Eventually, St. James says his controlling nature started to surface. He didn't want her talking to their neighbors, for instance. She felt cracks form in their relationship. At one point, she recalls, they decided to live separately for a month. Not long after, she says she got an email from him ending the relationship. I've never spoken to him since. What do you do when you get an email like that? I was just absolutely floored. St. James' worst fear had come true. She was unmarried and childless at 40. Her lifelong dream crushed. What was she to do now? Trad wives, OF, and the pressures women face. The years that followed, she says, were brutal. St. James struggled financially working various jobs. At one point, she says she was making about $30,000 a year with no benefits. On top of it, she says she also had to provide for her son, whom she conceived through sperm donation. In 2021, St. James came across a People magazine article about a woman who made $100,000 a month on a website called OF. She thought it sounded like a scam, but her curiosity was piqued. She began researching. I was almost propping my eyelids open at night. I was obsessed with finding out what this OF was. People really do this? People pay for this? What is this? This is crazy. A few months later, she decided to take the plunge and join the website. Leaning into her age, she says, has helped her find her niche, and she's since exploded in popularity. St. James says joining OF does come with sacrifices. She lives with deep concerns about her privacy and safety. She receives violent threats regularly. So do her family members. People in her life have also started treating her differently, including her son's teachers. Still, she says, she wouldn't trade her life for the subservient housewife role she once wanted. I went through the withdrawal when you're in that position, and then you're just tossed aside. Your whole existence was about pleasing somebody else, and then that person rejects you, and you're like, well, what now? Well, now what? To St. James, the emergence of trad wives and OF models speaks to the financial hardships women face. Trad wives cope with this by seeking to marry men who will provide for them. Similarly, many women turn to OF because they see it as a path to financial stability. St. James, after all, was one of them. People are scared right now. It's harder to live as a single woman, she says. There's a point in a woman's life, in most women's lives, where the thought of being a mom and that being the central role to you is very, very appealing. And though various and competing labels for women are popular right now, it's important to keep in mind that there are many different ways to live a happy life. I lived it, St. James says, of the traditional role she dreamed of, and when it went away, I was devastated. So that's how she ended it. And this is one of the main reasons I will continue to say, have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, N, O, P, all of the plans, because you can do all of the right things. You can cook the best food. You can bake a pie. You can bake all of your bread fresh. But if a dude wants to discard you and you have been financially dependent on that person, you are screwed. What do? Too many people, too many women pine away for this life. They put their lives, their survival in the hands of somebody else. In her case, she hadn't had a child at that time. But women have got to stop doing this, putting everything into another person's hands, because you just never know. They could snatch that back. They can become incapacitated. They could die suddenly. You just never know. Stop doing this. Have backup plans, have a sense of survival, and if you have kids, have a sense of survival for them if you don't value your being enough to have some financial stability. Anyways, join the conversation, y'all. Like, comment, share.